We have put together a few more ideas. We're going to give you a bit of a dealing insight perspective, starting from Fernando, comes from banking. Stuart comes from the tech space, very well recognized figure, I think, for most of us. And myself, perhaps I see a few new faces, and just for the record, I'm John Murillo, Chief Dealing Officer at B2Broker Group of Companies. What we're going to do right now is just a quick exercise again, and I would appreciate if everyone could scan that QR code. Takes you 2 seconds, and I'll explain it why in a second.
Okay, so the poll should be live now. This time, we want to get your opinion on oil prices. So WTI crude is currently at around sort of $72 per barrel. What we'd like to know is your opinion. Where do you think it will be by the end of this year? Will it be roughly where it is today at 72, higher, closer to 92, or even potentially lower at $52 per barrel? So yeah, please start voting. Thank you. John, I think we've got some results. I'm going to announce them. I don't know why they're not coming up on screen, but we will announce them. So 53% are going with $92 or higher. And I know you sit in that camp, right? So 53% are going for the top category, 29% are going for the middle category, and only 18% are going lower at 52, which I thought was very interesting indeed. Keep your questions coming in. We will keep Slido running, but I'll pass it back to you, John.
Okay, guys. I know a lot of faces, some for many years. Some of you know that I've been in the dealing position for my entire career, more or less. Even though I started trading options originally, and I was an actual trader for a wealth management operation back in the days, I then moved into retail brokerage where I managed risk for close to 12 years. And then I've been with B2Prime, B2Broker, and other brands, the group of companies that I represent, for the last 8.5 years. If there's anything I know is sleepless nights, a ton of volatility, a black swan event, dealing with situations like Refco and many others. Bankruptcies are never pleasant. I think if there's anything I would like to share is that all those experiences have they gave me a great lesson. In this line of business, it's crucial to understand what you truly do in order to make sure you offer a solution to partners that makes sense. A lot of people come to the industry and they think it's just a matter of funding. They think that it's just a matter of tech. Experience makes a tremendous difference between one business and the next. From a relationship management with banks, with your LPs, tier one banks or non-LPs, it's all about understanding what really takes place behind the scenes. We have put together an offer in this business that has served over 230 plus customers on an API basis. Our business, B2Prime in particular, has done exceptionally well because we understand what it means to be agnostic to tech from a liquidity hub or bridge perspective. You need to understand what are the client's needs, and I think up to now, we've been pretty well positioned, shall I say. And obviously, it helps a lot that we are also a tech company, which means there's typically no limitations, except the roadmap or strategic decisions you have to make. But you can always accommodate a lot of basic needs that most participants have. Most of you, or at least some of those who I know for many years, working in dealing desks, I think you know exactly what I mean. When things go wrong, when you need that relationship to work, you need to have someone that you can rely on, that you can effectively be able to get a hold of, that there's a team with the expertise to help your business when they need it. We all run businesses. I think we're all clear that service is key to success. But not only that, there's always the human touch. And that's why we're here today, to let you all know that I value every relationship I've built with many of you. And most importantly, to those who I don't know yet, let you know we're going to be in Cyprus very strongly going forward. And be aware that our business can cater to your needs in the best way possible, the way that humans can interact between one another. And most importantly, it's a matter of respecting each other's business. I think we bring that to this audience. We bring it to the industry. We owe it to the industry. And we continue to build products for the industry, which is why I support tech vendors of certain type. That's why I do business with certain, partners. We're very selective these days on who we utilize, so you get to have the best product possible that humans can build upon. We moved all of our infrastructure into AWS. And trust me, it's one hell of an invoice I get every month. And when we look at these expenses, we're like, oh my God, what have we done? But I know we're building a better tomorrow. We're building reliability. We're building something that your businesses can use at any given moment, especially at a moment like where you have a ton of volatility ahead. This is coming from my end and from our group of companies. First of all and foremost, thank you for being here. I pass the word to my colleagues who would like to share their thoughts, and then we get into some interesting discussions.
Hello, everybody. Well, for me, it's quite interesting. Every phrase here is new. I don't know any of you because I'm actually based in Sydney. And I come from a banking background. For the last 15 years, I've been working at places like State Street, Deutsche Bank, Barclays, and it's been quite interesting because at the banks, the difference is that we basically, in the banking world, we provide liquidity, but for like one asset class, for FX or for fixed income or for equities or for futures, but we don't provide liquidity across the board. It's been great, and I've learned a lot in investment banking, but for myself personally, it's a whole new world here at B2 Prime, whole new world. Providing 8 asset classes on a one single margin account, the technology that B2 Prime offers, and then the digital assets, it's been a massive change for me. It's been a big learning curve. I've been at the company for 3 months now, but it's such an exciting company, I must admit. It's so much to offer. The fact that we have liquidity providers and we put it all together into aggregation, and like I said, the 8 asset classes, every day is like an exciting day because one day I'm selling crypto and the next day I'm selling FX and then the next day technology, whatever. It's just been an excellent 3 months and the future is bright for B2 Prime. Thank you.
Hi, for those who don't recognise me, Stuart, I've been with B2 Prime a short period of time. I've moved from technology and history of technology for maybe 15 years, kind of similar to Fernando in how long we've been in the market. The whole way through this is actually about understanding what customers need and how you can improve services. And I think across the board, no matter if it's liquidity provision, if you're running the dealing desk, if you're the end customer, there's 3 main things that people are looking for: performance, stability, and innovation. Those 3 things across the board, and this is what we focus on here, is how do we offer that through our customers? And the reason that I talk about performance, and this comes down to market volatility, is we have a lot of liquidity providers that are in the market. The market's quite fragmented. Back in the day, you might have 5 or 6 underlying market makers. Now there's a lot more market participants. And for us to be able to consume those prices, create it into a stream that's then going to be published on the wire through the APIs or put into dashboard screens, takes a huge amount of computation. So having that performance to be able to run those processes, not just through standard market conditions, but also through those really volatile periods, non-farm payrolls, the 4 PMs, but also if Donald Trump starts tweeting, things start happening in the market, and it's being able to keep up with that and be able to continuously price in the same way that you would through a standard market. So having the performance and working with the right technology is fundamental to anything that we're doing here. If you partner with the wrong technology, things can go wrong very, very quickly. And that's what we want to avoid. So stability is the next thing. that is key. It's, are you going to be able to continuously provide a stable price throughout all of those conditions? Because actually, if the system stops pricing, there's downstream problems for everybody involved. The final part of that is innovation as well. So innovation, B2 Prime is a hugely innovative organization. Fernando's touched on it with regards to the different products and the instruments that we're publishing out to the market. As part of that, we need technology to keep up to speed with what we're publishing out to the market as well. So we need to work with a team that are going to be as engaged in where we see the business going and being able to keep up with that as quickly as we come up with new instruments, new ideas on how we can service and give the best price and that stability to all of our customers. That's the thing that we're really focusing on when it comes to technology. We want to focus on performance, stability, and the innovation.
Brilliant. So I think we bring a little bit of different points of view among ourselves within the team. Each of us has his own set of expertise. Tonight, I think what we would like to do for the next few minutes is have yourselves ask any questions. This is an open book, just like we do it in business, just like we manage our operation. We're fully transparent. We love to hear what you guys have in your minds. Share with us any doubts, any questions, since as conversation. And we'll be delighted to engage farther, one by one. The night is young. We can be here for as long as we need to. Let's enjoy ourselves afterwards. But now, if you have any questions, please enlighten us. Let's make this a lot more exciting.
Yeah, we do have some questions that have already come in. Shall I read some out?
I didn't bring my glasses. What differentiates you from other LPs? So, I always said to everyone, first of all, I don't do sales, but I love to present our company. It's just something that comes from here. Basically, in our line of business, one of the uniqueness on our end is the ability to price 8 asset classes through one single margin account. I learned this years ago with Interactive Brokers. It's one of, perhaps now it's old school. I see also young faces here. But back in the days, it was our role model in business. We managed to achieve that over the course of time through dedication, expertise, and obviously a lot more business that has come in, allow us to facilitate that sort of service. Our company has a unique proposition. We can service customers anywhere in the world. We follow the sun strategy. So we don't like people, like during my time when I was a dealer, I was working at night. And I remember Sunday night until 3, 4, 5 a.m. and I was like a zombie around 4. I couldn't even understand what was happening for a period of an hour. And I realized that over time, you got to be able to have people serving customers fresh, like with an active mind. And we left behind those years where we had people working at night. Now, whenever someone comes on board, let's say from Dubai office, London office, obviously we serve the European session, European customers. If you're based in Asia, we have an Asian team that services Asia Pacific and so forth. And then we have the American time for American customers. So we always have people with boots on the ground that are nice, and I like to call it they're ready to go for whatever your needs are immediately. And that, to me, is extremely important because every second counts when something might change in our day-to-day operations. Also, I think one of the differentiators, and remember, we have multiple jurisdictions. We have essentially the ability to bespoke liquidity to any of your needs. It's only a matter of understanding. We are very keen on discussing liquidity in a high level, but also in a lot of depth before we send you to market. So there's no misunderstandings. People have expectations and they're realistic. I think it's very important in the liquidity business to be very clear how it actually works, so that when those execution times, large clips come in, people can sort of expect a realistic outcome. And therefore, your business can cater to your end user in the best way possible. This is a business about monetizing. So we obviously aggregate liquidity and we push out a raw price. That price is what is basically your best tool to monetize on it. So we're constantly in discussion with vendors, with banks, how to improve, how to cater to something that you may need. I think one of the most important differentiators in this business is something I pride myself is I talk to every single one of my customers and understand what their needs are. And if they change, we try to communicate both sides, what's best at any given moment. I think gold prices, and we see that this trend continues, obvious reasons. I wouldn't be surprised if we see margins starting to go up pretty soon. Banks are getting pretty nervous. We hear this all the time. And I think what really separates our business is our continuous effort to do better every week, every month, every year, which is our growth signifies that we're trying to build a better tomorrow. We're not here for the short term. A lot of guys come into the space, they want to make a little, certain amount of income, and they're happy to pull out. We're here to stay. I hope that hopefully the day will come when my son can take over my role. So it's a different business per se because of what we're trying to achieve on a long-term basis. Retail clients, flow 5 years from now, expectations. That's a very good question. As a matter of fact, maybe one of you guys want to take it, otherwise I'll share my piece.
Happily take that. I think with technology and more access to the market, I think there's going to be greater influx of people trading it. I speak to my kids all the time, and they know exactly what's going on in the market. And these guys are like 11 and 12 years old. So if they're able to understand the market and they want to participate in this actively now, I think there's going to be a lot more participants coming into it. I think innovation in accessibility to the market is going to continuously grow. How do I think it's actually going to change? I just believe that people will be interacting with it in maybe utilization of AI, taking more data points in and being able to then forecast off the back of that. So I think AI is going to drive innovation in technology and how younger people start to interface with the market. Old school people like us like to see a bid offer and hit the button, right? But kids these days want to see something a little bit more creative. And I think that's going to change the way that people interact with the market. But I think there's going to be a continuous growth in the number of participants in the market.
Maybe I can add just a quick point to that as well. I mean, what we've seen especially in Europe, less so in the US, we've had generations that were reliant on their workplace for their pension or their government or some combination of those two. And if they had any excess cash, any savings, they basically just put it in a bank account and earned a reasonable interest rate on that. That died just in the last decade or so when interest rates went to zero. So if you had to save, you had to take more risk and enter the market. And then at the same time, those workplace pensions started to be withdrawn. So now everybody's more active because if you have a pension, like most people do, then it's being traded. And so you need to pay attention to what you're doing. That's what slowly starts to build the interaction. And I said less so in the US because, of course, 401ks have been around for a long time. But I think it will start to build that culture of investing, which has been missing, certainly in Europe, for forever. Really. Yeah, UK have SIPs, exactly. Yeah, but it's not widely used yet. It's spreading. Yeah.
Talk about the 5 year. I think over the 5 years, the utilisation of SIPs for self-invested pensions is going to be especially UK centric. I think that's going to be a big driver.
It will grow, absolutely.
Yeah.
Next one. How do you think the industry is changing? Well, I think the industry is always changing. It's always evolving. If I can say 2 points, one is, I can go back to what I was saying originally, working at the bank, one of my biggest frustration points was going to see clients and, predominantly selling FX, and the clients would say to me, Fernando, can you provide us CFD liquidity? No, we can't. Can you provide us fixed income liquidity? No, we can't. This is where it's changing for me. The multi-asset class liquidity platform is the future. Like I said, we have 8 asset classes, single margin. This is what clients want. They don't want to have 6, 7 portals, one doing FX, one doing fixed income, one doing equity futures, whatever. They don't want that anymore. They want the one-stop shop where they can open up the portal and there it is. Every asset class, pretty much that you clients trade, it's right there, right? And I think the second point to it is, people always ask, right? They say, how tight are your spreads? Blah, 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 right? There's many brokers out there, right? And they all offer liquidity. The question is, our spreads are just as tight as everybody else, but I think clients are now getting savvy. There are a lot of brokers out there, they offer liquidity and they might have tight spreads, whatever, but are they there when you need them most? Is the technology there? Does it go down? And that's where I think we come to the forefront, because we're robust, our technology, we've been in the game for 10 years plus now. It's a strong technology, and we are there when the clients need us most. Over non-fund payrolls, etc. We are there. We don't widen out. We don't grey out. We don't go down. We are always there, and that's the difference now. Back in the day, brokers will come in and provide liquidity and go, oh yeah, we're super cheap, blah blah blah. But when you need them, they're not there. We are always there. That's what I've seen.
Sorry, I don't mean to ask the difficult questions, but you're talking about spreads, cross-margining, single accounts. I think that's definitely a growing place in the business. But throughout the 90s, 2000s, you kind of race to zero on spread, right? So it's a zero-sum game. As spreads get lower, the only other way you make money is through volume, right? So now the race to zero is on latency. It's a race. It used to be a race to the minimum spread. Now it's a race to the server. So how as B2 Prime, how are you guys keeping up with that? Because that is almost the way it gets measured gets smaller and smaller. It's almost like Formula One. And the seconds get smaller and at 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th decimal places. So I mean, again, I know Stu, so it's going to lead more to the technology session. But I think, how do you, as a company, protect against that? Because you spoke about scalability, availability. And pardon my language here, but I come from a product strategy and product design background, and my mentor was always asked the question is, what happens when it fucks up? I'm not talking like when it falls down for 2 minutes and you switch it back on. So what kind of things are in place for you guys to do that? So if you just touch the latency issue, and then also how do you convince the clients? Because there's a lot of people promising big things out there. So
I'll certainly cover off the technology standpoint of this. And that is implementation, utilization of the right technology. There are a lot of technology providers out there who would, if you hit the price, you are negative on inception. So you're negative P&L on inception, which basically means you've crossed the spread already, which will ultimately end up in a reject. So yes, you can have the tightest price, but if the technology is slow, you're never getting that trade away anyway. It's going to hit your liquidity provider. They're going to say, look, no, you've missed the price, reject. So the way that we are working around that is by having that performance, having that speed, utilizing the right technology, and being able to be first to market in those transactions. Yes, there's a lot that would basically work against their customers by internalizing a lot of the risk, and actually all they want their customers to do is almost fail in that space. What we're trying to do here is be the first person to get the freshest quote, make sure that we execute on those, and that way you can still maintain that tight pricing and be just purely passing through those trades and getting those away and beating the rest of the market to it, because that's the only way that you're going to be successful in this space at this point in time.
I would like to add on this. I always said there's vendors and there's vendors. The key is to select the best of everything, to facilitate the best you can provide. I think there was a question earlier. How do we differentiate ourselves from the rest? Look, we're not here to make promises that don't exist. I always hated throughout my entire career people who overpromise just for the sake of a sale. Let's be realistic. I mean, there's improvements, yeah, a few milliseconds here and there, but the market is the market. You're still using public internet, many of these cases. I mean, we've had a few instances throughout the years where clients had a lease line, and obviously that's a different type of business on its own. But in the CFD space, when you get someone that latency driven, you know that's never going to end up well. I mean, that's just our experience. I hope that answered your question. Anyone?
I don't know. Do you think your clients here really understand the market risk?
I believe I do business with several people in this meeting today. The answer is absolutely. Does everyone understand market risk? No. There's been a learning curve on our side. How much time we have to dedicate with each partner to understand what's realistic, what is to be expected, and what is a misperception. We come across this in some jurisdictions in particular. When you're having a conversation in London, there's a certain level of knowledge typically with some of the guys that you meet. In other parts of the world, it depends. So it's a very challenging statement to answer accurately because I think every business is different. And there is high levels of expertise in some operations and there's none in others. That's just something you never know what you're going to get.
What is the type of your SciSec license?
Well, I'm not in the legal side of the business,
So we have someone from legal.
but
Yeah.
it is
Oh, hello.
an STP. Oh, there you go. I don't have my glasses. Remember this. You're killing me. You maybe read it out loud.
So we just have a standard SciSec license. So we have a standard SciSec license. It's investment firm Cypriot, reception and transmission of orders in relation to one or more financial instruments, execution of orders on behalf of clients, and dealing on an account. So that's all stuff that we're doing regulated for. But
The license we actually obtained from SciSec years ago was an STP license, but I think this country is moving into market making for every business. It's not an option anymore. So we were already asked to do so. We have multiple jurisdictions. We do business from Dubai, the FCA. We do business out of different jurisdictions, different parts of the world. So we're very accustomed to what regulators are constantly requesting from us. But in essence, yeah, I mean, you read it. I'm on the trading side of the business, so please keep this in mind when we're having any discussions. Listen, everyone, I would like to thank you very much for joining us. Unless anyone else has a question, I think it's time to get to know each other a little bit better, have a couple of drinks, perhaps. And I would like to thank you for joining us today, each and one of you. Thank you.